Disclaimer. Everything that is discussed, posted is strictly for educational and historical purposes only. It does not promote nor condone illegal activities. Full Throttle's XGRC. Monster, 6XW, 1XGL. He was born from a breeding done by M1S Cody and Breakdown's Zarapur, which produced the monster himself. He came down from the east to the west and was blessed to kennel 27. He is a very nice-looking bulldog and the perfect example of the ADBA, American Dog Breeders Association Inc. He's very good with people and true to the Pit Bull Terrier conformation standard, down to earth, and was given to Rowakes to keep and campaign to the best of his ability. Rowakes then wasted no time and schooled him a few times until he was confident enough to take him to the lie detector, and was then hooked at 21.5 kilograms into Dead Easy Kennel with a grandson out of River Kennel's Ballistic IMP. Rowakes went to ask Full Throttle's to help him get the boy ready for his show. 6 weeks later, let the show began. Monster vs. DKS Klaus. Dogs are weighed in, and both came in at 21.5 kilograms, washed and faced off. Release your dogs, the ref ordered. Tensions are high from both camps, and Monster slams Klaus from the center of the box back into his own corner. At about 25 minutes, Klaus gets a nice hold on Monster, and Monster goes on the defense and counters with his own mouth hold. DK was shocked by what they saw. It was a very tough show for about 30 minutes, then Monster figured him out by the 45-minute mark. And just like that, the show was over, making Monster a 1XW. 1XW Monster then went home to Rowakes and was said that he ain't nothing special. After that, Rowakes no longer wanted anything to do with the dog, so he then contacted Full Throttle's telling him that he has no interest in 1XW Monster and wants to give him away. Full Throttle's then called Kennel 27 and asked if he could have 1XW Monster and was told he could have the dog. As for Kennel 27, they knew Full Throttle's was the man for the job, thus then becoming Full Throttle's 1XW Monster. Full Throttle's then hooked the 1XW at 21.5 kilograms into Merc that had a hound bred out of Bounty's champ, Wanderlei Silva, 4XW 1XBIS, named MRK's Connor Wandabar. The keep begins, and 1XW Monster is getting better and stronger every day. Very hard and determined dog that just loves going for walks and always wants to work. 3 weeks into his keep, he gets hold of a cat and kills the little kitty. Seeming to be a bit sick, Full Throttle then rested the dog and only started working him a week later. 4 weeks later, lie detector test time. Full Throttle's Monster versus MRK's Connor Wandabar. Both hounds came in on weight, and ref orders handler to turn and face. Release your dogs, and the show is on the road. It was a really tough show, both dogs going at it. The MRK dog really looking good, exchanging holds with the 1XW Monster and showing to be a very high ability dog who was working Monster's ears, chest, and back end was really looking promising. At about 27 minutes into the show, Monster changed tactics and ends up on the head, working his way to the muzzle and making the MRK dog twist and turn with his muzzle in Monster's mouth, trying to get free. Monster showing some really high ability being on the muzzle and hits the throat at about 50 minutes into the show. A turn was called on MRK's dog. The ref then granted and said handler's handle went out of hold. At 52 minutes, Full Throttle's gets a beautiful handle, and MRK, looking very stressed as things doesn't look as great in their corner. Ref said face your dogs with MRK's Connor Wandabar to scratch, and he stands the line while Monster is screaming, making him a 2XW GIS. Monster. 2XW 1XGS Monster was booked into a private vet called Dr. Big L to help with his recovery after his incident with a cat, and was checked to have a nice hard recovery after his hog chase. It took him about 2 months to be fully recovered after this incident. Shortly after 2XW 1XGIS Monster was fully recovered from this incident, Full Throttle Kennels was contacted by BHK Kennels, and he was contacted by Mr. Miller from $1 Million Kennels. Mr. Miller and his kennel members were interested in stopping the Monster from reaching his champion status. $1 Million Kennels brought out their 1XW Juju, who was a Cusack-bred dog. 1XW Juju had a lot of hype behind him, and he was said to be a great prospect in the game, making him sound as if he had all the weapons to destroy the Monster. 2XW 1XGIS Monster was put in a pre-keep, and he seemed fit to continue on his journey on becoming one of the best to ever do it. The contract for this showdown was drawn up by Full Throttle Kennels and BHK Kennels. It was agreed to for the dogs to meet in 8 weeks. 8 weeks later, Full Throttle Kennels 2XW 1XGIS Monster versus $1 Million Kennels 1XW Juju was about to start, and all eyes were on the two prospects. The dogs were then washed and weighed, and both dogs coming in at 21.5 kilograms with no one missing weight. Both dogs were then taken to their corners while Monster was screaming from the time he laid eyes on the pit. As Monster was brought into his corner, his energy and intensity in his scream was amplified. He was overexcited, full of energy and hype like a Monster energy drink. Both dogs were in their corner and were ready for action. 2XW Monster and 1XW Juju met at the center of the pit and scratched hard into each other like two freight trains clashing into each other. $1 Million Kennels 1XW Juju got an early hard blood scratch into the shoulder of Full Throttle Kennels 2XW Monster while Monster taking him off and gradually working on the muzzy. Early in the contest, it was clear that the 1XW Juju was the harder biter and brought a vicious fight to the 2XW Monster, while Monster showed that he would continue scratching hard into his opponent. The contest was going back and forth, with both dogs having their moments and eager to destroy the other opponent. The contest was extremely heated, with both dogs trying to figure one another out, while they were working each other's back ends, then to the shoulders, throat holds, and so forth. The contest was an absolute bloodbath. Both dogs were very intense and agile. After the 45-minute mark, both dogs seemed to slow the pace down a bit. By the hour mark, Monster was starting to work more defensively while working hard on the muzzle of Juju, and Monster showed very high ability alongside the pit walls. $1 Million Kennels 1XW Juju was working hard and pressing, trying to get in by 2XW Monster. After the contest had reached the hour mark, Monster had seemed to figure out his opponent, and he was making his opponent look dumb. At 1 hour 20-minute, Monster was working the muzzle hard and really made damage on the face of Juju, and blood was everywhere. Shortly after, a turn was called at 1 hour 30. The scratches started at 1 hour 45 till 2 hour 10, where Juju made his last game scratch. This was the end of the contest, and it was said that the new 3XW 1XGIS Monster made the hardest scratches among the two. For the fourth show, the now Full Throttle's 3x WCH Monster was called out by Sneaky Sneakies and Do-Away Boars CH Chaos. CH Chaos was a double DGK and AK-47 foot S4 XW1XGL. CH Dylan Dog. And after a good rest, the dogs were hooked. Match night arrived, and you could feel the tension around the arena as the champ versus champ showdown was about to start. The dogs were released, and just 30 minutes later, Monster hit his spot and started destroying Chaos' face, causing Chaos to turn, growl, shout, and cry in the pit, leaving Sneaky Sneaky and Do-Away Boars skeptical whether or not their champion was of caliber for the Monster or not. And after just 15 minutes with Champ Monster on his face and destroying Champ Chaos, it was clear that he could not handle the devastating skills and mouth of the Monster. Chaos was conceded and was given a game scratch, and Full Throttle's Monster was declared a 4XW in exactly 45 minutes. Full Throttle CH4XW 1XGIS Monster was not looking bad after his tea party he had with Sneaky Sneakies and Do-Away Boars Champ 1XGL Chaos. He was eating and moving like he had an accident in the street. 3 days into Champ 1XGIS 4XW Monster's recovery, he was looking ready to start again. Few months went by, and soon enough, I got a call that there is a very hard-biting 2XW from the east that was supposedly able to kill the Champ 4XW Monster in a few minutes. The contract was drawn up at 21 kilograms, and dogs were set to meet in 8 weeks. A few weeks into the process, everything is going well. CH4XW Monster looking really beautiful, healthy, and stronger. As time got closer, he starts picking up that he's soon going to go party again, and really looking like a professional UFC fighter, working hard every day waiting for his big day, and it has arrived. We set off to the east about 1,840 kilometers away from home, and CH4XW Monster settled in very nicely on his travel like a truck driver going on a road trip. Full Throttle's 4XW GIS Monster versus Assassin's Kennels 2XW Red Joker. Red Joker was a battle cross from the IMP ROM CH Recoil Buck DOY 2017 and IMP ROM Ballistic. 2XW Red Joker was known for his hard mouth and elite fighting abilities and very high intensity. Most experts thought that the 2XW Red Joker was going to get his champion status easy against Monster. Match day came fast with everybody looking forward to see these two titans in action. Both dogs came in at roughly 21.5 kilograms with no one missing weight, and both dogs looked like they were in their prime. Their conditioning and keep was looking perfect with very little amount of fat, just pure muscle. The ref made sure each dog had a good wash before the contest took place. As the dogs were brought into their corners, the 4XW champ Monster was screaming as if he was a hound from hell. Assassin's Kennel's 2XW Red Joker was not deterred at all, and he was eager to go in for the kill. Boom! Both dogs meeting in the center while the dust flies behind them. 2XW Red Joker versus 4XW Monster was really a heated-up contest. Both dogs on their hind legs, pushing each other into the corners of the pit. This contest did not seem as if would go the distance. Red Joker was showing some real intensity and mouth, having great early moments in the contest while hitting monster bleeders in his chest. At the 15-minute mark, the entire pit was a bloodbath, and it seemed as if a pig was slaughtered without being tied. Monster was showing real ability and intelligence. Monster was put into some nasty spots inside the pit, but he was able to figure out as to how he can maneuver his way out of it. Both dogs were going in for the kill, and at the 30-minute mark, Red Joker was hitting hard bleeders in Monster's chest while Monster was hitting bleeders on the muzzle of Red Joker. As Monster was holding the muzzle, you could hear the cracking of bones as he was biting on the muzzle of Red Joker. At the 40th minute mark, both dogs then seemed to go pound for pound, while driving each other back and forth on their hind legs, while being able to work their way up and continue driving into one another's shoulders, stifle, ear holds, and so forth. As the fight goes on, Monster takes out his secret move. Starts working Red Joker in his gut. He takes Red Joker in his gut and starts using him as a mop for the pit, dragging him across the pit. At the 50-minute mark, Red Joker was extremely game dog and continued driving back into Monster, but this only got him into the Monster's trap. Coming to the hour mark, Monster starts getting into his shoulders, then transitions into a throat hold while the crowd chanting on. Monster was alternating from chest to shoulders, then into the throat of Red Joker. At 1 hour 15 minutes, Red Joker had seemed to pick up pace again and got into the back end of Monster while Monster struggling to get a solid hold in this position. Both dogs made hard scratches in the pit, but it seemed that Red Joker could have had a power advantage. Monster was an extremely intelligent dog with supreme fighting abilities. This was an absolute bloodbath. Both dogs trying to rip each other apart. At the 1 hour 45-minute mark, Red Joker made a hard scratch into Monster and put him in his corner. Monster then tried fighting from the bottom, and he found his way into the gut. At this point, Red Joker seemed that he was about to see his maker. At the 2-hour mark, Red Joker was declared dead by the ref. Red Joker just dropped as he was about to make his scratch. This then declared him his title of Grand Champ Monster and Full Throttle Kennel, shouting, "Come fuck us up, trust the process," while holding the 5XWGR Monster, who was screaming and barking. The now Grand Champion 5XW Monster was set to be retired as he had a very long and rough show with the Red Joker. This was no walk in the park. It took him a few months to recover, and soon was acting out on the yard again, barking like a true Grand Champion. At this point, we got a call from the North Side. Really respectful person who has asked for an opportunity into the Grand Champion with his champion. We drew up a contract and was set to meet 1,542 kilometers away from home in 8 weeks. GRCH 5XW GIS Monster versus Toughliners CH Blade. We arrived at the big arena, and it looked as if a DMX concert was taking place that night. It was full of dogmen everywhere. It was a beautiful experience, with the North saying that they are going to kill Monster, and huge bets were taking place. Both dogs came in on weight at 21 kilograms, and it was wash time. Ref said turn and face your dogs, and release. CH Blade comes over flying. Monster coming over as strong as an ox. They meet hard in the center of the arena, and CH Blade, showing to be a really hard-biting dog that jacks into the Grand Champ's throat. Monster then takes his special hold on the muzzle to show his great ability and intelligence, keeping the CH Blade out of his chest and throat. It goes on like this for about 30 minutes. Monster then also gets off the muzzle and into the champ's chest and throat, leaving Blade looking very stupid and suspect. The crowd screaming 6-time winner Monster. At this point, Monster was really putting down some punishment on the muzzle of CH Blade. It looked really bad, as if a fat man has been stabbed with a beer bottle, blood everywhere. At 50-minute GRCH, Monster was declared full throttle's 6XW Monster. GRCH 6XW GIS Monster was on his way home after his road trip and happy meal. I, Mr. Full Throttles, had a goal far beyond your wildest fantasy. My son Full Throttles GRCH 6XW Monster is undefeated and is 8 years of age at this point. We then got a call from a very well-respected kennel that they have a 4XW called Bronze that would like an opportunity into the freak of nature GRCH 6XW GIS Monster. We know that we are as game as our dogs, so we hooked and the show was contracted. A week before release, I get a call from my wife saying Monster ate something. When I got home and saw he had something in his pen, for 2 days he was throwing up and trying to bring up whatever he ate. 5 days later, it was Face Your Dogs. Full Throttle's GRCH Monster vs. YMCB Case 4XW Bronze Bomber. The big day has finally arrived, where 6XW GRCH Monster GIS vs. 4XWCH Bronze Bomber 1X BIS 2X GIS DOY 2021 was about to take place. Both dogs came in weighing in at 21 kilograms. While Full Throttle kennels and YMCB kennels were bringing their warriors to the arena, they were screaming because they knew that it was time for action. After the dogs were washed, the ref called both handlers to their corners where they were struggling to control their dogs. Both dogs couldn't wait for the action to begin as they were screaming and jumping, trying to get to each other. As the ref asked their handlers to face them, it was as if all of hell had broken loose. Both dogs flying across the pit like a bullet, with Monster coming through hard into the throat of Bronze Bomber and slamming him on the ground and shaking him like a cloth. Both Monster and Bronze Bomber were showing an elite level of intelligence and tenacity. The pace of the show was at a very fast pace, with both dogs going pound for pound. Monster and Bronze Bomber were hitting each other hard in the front, with Bronze Bomber working the shoulders and neck, while Monster working on the muzzle, ear then shoulders. At the 30-minute mark, the pit was an absolute bloodbath, with neither dog seeming to slow down. Full Throttle states that at the 45-minute mark, Monster had seemed as if he was having stomach problems. This then reminded him of the incident that had happened earlier in the keep. He is not making any excuses, but he could see that something was wrong with his boy Monster. However, he continued to make extremely hard scratches into Bronze Bomber. Bronze Bomber was a very intelligent dog and seemed to have an answer for everything the Monster had brought. Monster was hitting him with bleeders, but this had not deterred Bronze Bomber a bit. Bronze Bomber was an extremely game dog and had gave the Monster a few terrifying bleeders as well. At the 1 hour 30-minute mark, it was clear that there was something interfering with Monster's stomach. Full Throttle states that he wasn't going to be cruel to leave his dog in there with his stomach problem. So at the 1 hour 40-minute mark, Full Throttle Kennels asked the ref for a courtesy scratch. Monster continued his courtesy scratch at 1 hour 45 minutes. This then making Bronze Bomber a 5XW GRCH. The XGRCH Monster 6XW1XGLGIS was really a wonderful dog, and it was a pleasure to own him. He was a specimen, a freak of nature, and a true example of this breed, and he had an amazing character, sharing it with his ancestors that came before him. Monster is a dog that is very true to the game and has the tenacity of a running horse who keeps on running until he finds his death. XGRCH Monster 6XW1XGLGIS was a very high ability athlete and extremely intelligent. Monster was at the top level of this game, and you couldn't get any game dog to bang with him. He was feared by many kennels due to how he finished his opponents. Monster was a high-ability dog that liked hitting hard on the muzzle of his opponents, then hitting bleeders into the shoulders, and finally finishing them in their gut while shaking them hard. You could hear the cracking of the rib cages as he started shaking non-stop. Even though Monster had one loss to 5XW GRCH Bronze Bomber, a well-deserved win, GRCH Bronze Bomber did not live to see the rest of his days, for he had died shortly after the match, while XGRCH Monster lives the rest of his days out as a stud. Monster is at stud and will only be breeding to selective bitches with stud fee. Full Throttle Kennels states that Monster was really one of the best dogs he had owned. Full Throttle Kennels had owned many great dogs such as Sage Piston, who was also a good dog and stopped another champ in 2 hours. Another one was 2XW Yakuza, and so the list goes on. Full Throttle Kennels had owned many great dogs, but he states that Monster would forever have a special place in his kennels, and he looks forward to having an offspring from the Monster. He intends to base Monster into his breeding program because he is the full package. And a last few notes from Full Throttle Kennels is to always be as game as your dog and come fuck us up. Much loved and respect to this beautiful game. Well, there you have it, folks, the story of Full Throttle's Grand Champion Monster 6XW1XGLGIS.